Is it a good idea to avail the loan repayment break during this time? Are there any negative repercussions? Is there a deadline to avail hardship due to an unforeseen coronavirus situation?
Yep, so that's actually a really interesting question. It's one that there's a lot of different opinions on at the moment. One school of thought would suggest that you should always take that deferral if it's there. Right? You have the opportunity to not make payments, so don't make payments. Obviously, if you make no payments at all, you're going to pay more interest. You're going to lose money from a purely financial sense by doing that. So, the second school of thought, apply for the deferral and then make your payments anyway. And then if you don't need to make the payments don't want to make the payments in any given month, you don't make them, you cop that small loss, you move on. Now, financially speaking, that's quite sound. It creates a safety net for you. The question is though, and this is exactly what Munzurul raised before, at the moment we have an opportunity, or you do if you're in a stable position, to separate yourself from other borrowers, to create a point of difference and to show a lender why you're valuable to them. That's where you're going to get your discounts, your long-term relationships from. And to turn down that opportunity, simply to take a safety net that you may not need, to me seems like a questionable decision. So if you don't need that safety net, I would encourage you to continue making your repayments.
Again, I think it comes back to the goals there, isn't it? If you have a goal to build a property portfolio and you want to borrow money and it's all about, using other people's money, where in Australia, back in India, people buy property, cash, but here you need to have the bank's money to help you buy a property. And if your goal is to that build a portfolio, and if you are in a situation where you can avoid, I think you should be avoiding it.
There is a really important thing to remember with all of this though, that when you go to a bank and request that deferral period or you request assistance, that protects your credit file. As long as you're meeting whatever arrangement you've made with the bank, your credit rating, your credit profile, your standing with the bank will not be affected. If you try to be a hero and you try to maintain your own repayments and don't ask for help when you need it, that missed payment will go on your credit file and it will show up for 2 years. So as much as it's worthwhile supporting yourself when you can, if you do have a problem, absolutely you should be putting your hand up for help. The banks want to assist you, they want to keep you in good standing, and with comprehensive credit reporting now, it's more important than ever that you make sure you don't end up with that missed payment on your credit file.
And I think the other comment which I sort of say, James, if I may, is that there seems to be a lot of panic in the open world, right? There is a lot of potential doom and gloom at the moment, right? And I was speaking to someone very high on Westpac, and the gentleman was I asked his opinion, that how is your opinion about the market as it is, and how is Westpac's opinion for that matter? And the answer was that Munzurul, it depends on when you're asking. If you were to ask about an hour ago, I probably would have a different answer compared to now.
Yes.
It's moving rather quickly. It's a fluid. Now the point which I say in there is that we as property investor, we are long-term investor. Let's not rush into many of those decisions. Let's take a step back. Let's try to understand all the things that the government is imposing, as an example, all the different stimulus that the government is imposing. Yes, the bank is providing this as well. What are the ramifications from a tax side of it, accounting side of it, legal side of it, finance side of it, as well as your goals and objectives? By putting everything together on a holistic view, we make the decision, right? So that's my view.
I guess the short summation of that is that there isn't one right answer. It absolutely depends on your situation.
Yeah.
And if ever there was a time to be speaking to advisors and to people that you trust, this is the time.
Yeah.
And at the same time, James, I suppose it comes back to the individual goals and objectives as well. What do we wish to do? So I've got an investor as an example that say he's 59 years old and he's moving into the retirement, and at this stage his safety and security is rather important to himself. He doesn't himself see many more subsequent investment, in his case whether he goes through with the deferral. I've got an investor as an example that he looks through longer term relationship with the bank.
Yes.
And on that example, I always say that we don't scrap all the way to the bottom of the chain as such.
Yes. That's very well worded, actually.